Believe it or not, Darren Aronofsky's original idea for Requiem for a Dream would have made the movie even darker, and that's really saying something. Requiem for a Dream turns 25 years old this month, so here are some things I bet you never knew about it. The story behind Requiem for a Dream starts in the late 1940s when Brooklyn teenager Hubert Selby Jr. first came down with tuberculosis. Selby was in and out of hospitals and then bedridden for about a decade. Because he was unable to work physically, he turned his attention toward writing, explaining in 2000, "I know the alphabet, maybe I could be a writer." Despite the fact that he had no formal training in fiction writing, he'd go on to become a respected author, known for his bleak and violent prose. His most popular books were Last Exit to Brooklyn, released in 1964, and Requiem for a Dream, released in 1978. The latter tells a story of four New Yorkers whose lives spiral out of control as they succumb to their addictions. Last Exit to Brooklyn became a movie in 1989, and sometime later, Selby tried writing a screenplay based on Requiem for a Dream. Meanwhile, around the same time, another Brooklyn boy was becoming obsessed with Selby's books. That would be future filmmaker Darren Aronofsky, who discovered the author when he was in school. In 2001, Aronofsky spoke about his Selby fandom, saying, "Anyone that reads Selby's works can see how intense his world is. He writes the most discordant, angry words that tickle the air with some sweet music around it. It's an unbelievable experience to read his books." Aronofsky went to Harvard as an undergrad, where he studied social anthropology and filmmaking, and then he got a Master's of Fine Arts in film at the AFI Conservatory. In 1997, he made his first independent feature, Pi, on a $60,000 budget. He ended up winning Best Director for that movie at the Sundance Film Festival, and Pi was acquired by Artisan Entertainment, and it made $3.2 million at the box office. Pi also ended up becoming the first movie ever to be available to download on the internet. Anyway, after that success, Aronofsky turned his attention back to Selby, and he knew that he wanted his next movie to be an adaptation of Requiem for a Dream. He thought before his career got any bigger, this was the time. Quote, "I knew that once I made a larger film, it would be very difficult to do a project like this." So Aronofsky set off to write the screenplay. He later told Salon, "Requiem for a Dream is not about heroin or drugs. The Harry, Tyrone, Marion story is a very traditional heroin story, but putting it side by side with the Sarah story, we suddenly say, oh my god, what is a drug? The idea that the same inner monologue goes through a person's head when they're trying to quit drugs, as with cigarettes, as when they're trying to not eat food so that they can lose 20 pounds, was really fascinating to me. I thought it was an idea that we hadn't seen on film, and I wanted to bring it up on screen." Aronofsky and his producer Eric Watson then approached Hubert Selby, and the author was open to them making the movie, so he sold them the rights to the book for just $1,000. Selby then showed them the screenplay that he had written years prior, and they discovered it was about 80% similar to Aronofsky's new script, which is why Selby is co-credited for writing the screenplay. That said, Aronofsky had one bold idea that would have made the movie even darker and more disturbing than the book. He wanted to age down the characters to be teenagers. Selby was okay with this, but the producers were not, thinking that story would be too unsettling for audiences, so the characters were made to be young adults instead. Despite the fact that Pi was an indie success, Aronofsky had trouble financing Requiem due to its intense subject matter. Ultimately, indie production company 1000 Words came on board, and Artisan, who put out Pi, agreed to distribute this one as well. Aronofsky was given a $4.5 million budget total to make this movie. And then it came time to cast the film. Faye Dunaway was offered Sarah at first, but she declined, and Ellen Burstyn also declined at first as well, but her manager convinced her to watch Pi, and after that, she agreed to be in the movie. Giovanni Ribisi, Neve Campbell, and Dave Chappelle were all considered for the other leads, but they all declined, and so Aronofsky went out to Jared Leto, who was interested in the challenge, and Jennifer Connelly, who found the script creative and really brave. Marlon Wayans read the novel 3 times and auditioned 5 times before Darren Aronofsky finally cast him as Tyrone. Hubert Selby cameos as the Laughing Guard, and Aronofsky appears briefly as Visitor. The whole cast did a lot of preparation and research before filming. Leto immersed himself with real addicts in New York and went on a diet to lose 28 pounds total. Aronofsky also asked Leto and Wayans to refrain from sex and eating sugar so that their cravings would appear genuine on screen. Burstyn also spent time with women living in poverty in Brooklyn, and Connelly rented an apartment in a building similar to where her character lived. She isolated herself there, painted, listened to the character's favorite music, and designed and crafted her own clothes, which she wore in the movie. Connelly also interviewed people with addiction and attended NA meetings with a friend in recovery. Filming then began on April 19th, 1999, in and around Coney Island and Brighton Beach. To show Burstyn's weight loss throughout the film, the actress wore 2 fat suits, one that added 40 pounds and another that added 20 pounds. She also wore a ton of prosthetic makeup, some of which took 4 hours to put on. And then in the middle of production, Burstyn dieted to lose an additional 10 pounds. After filming, she told the Evening Standard, "I don't think I've ever been this challenged in a role. It was harder than The Exorcist." Connelly echoed that, telling the BBC, "It was hard, really hard to go through emotionally. It was draining, sad, and uncomfortable." The production hired people with addiction to serve as background extras, and Aronofsky said some of them were injecting themselves during filming. Aronofsky reunited with his Pi cinematographer Matthew Libatique on Requiem. Libatique, by the way, would go on to lens movies like Inside Man, Iron Man, Black Swan, A Star is Born, and more. On Requiem, they used a lot of bold camera techniques. The movie includes several long tracking shots, some of which were done with Snorri cam, where the camera is strapped to the actor facing them. There's also extreme close-ups and extreme wide shots, fisheye lens, pixelation, and more. The movie wrapped filming on June 16th, 1999, after 40 workdays. Requiem for a Dream is famous for its aggressive and creative editing style. The movie includes a number of montages with super quick shots known as the hip-hop montage. Aronofsky and editor Jay Rabinowitz also use split screen throughout, and as the movie progresses, the average scene length gets shorter and shorter. Scenes range from 90 seconds to 2 minutes at the beginning, but as the story descends into chaos, so does the editing. The average 100-minute film has about 600 to 700 cuts total. Requiem for a Dream has more than 2,000 cuts. For music, Aronofsky brought back composer Clint Mansell, who scored Pi. The movie's most famous composition, Lux Eterna, would later get reused in a ton of movie trailers, including The Da Vinci Code, I Am Legend, Sunshine, and Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. The MPAA originally wanted to give the movie an NC-17 rating. Aronofsky appealed the rating, but he was denied, so Artisan decided to release the movie unrated. Requiem premiered at the Cannes Film Festival in May 2000, followed by the Toronto Film Festival in September, and then it opened in limited release on October 6, 2000. The movie never went wide, it only played 93 theaters total, but it ended up grossing $7.4 million. Aronofsky revealed to Indiewire he made a salary of $50,000 total on the movie. Critics liked Requiem for a Dream. Today, 80% of the 183 reviews assessed by Rotten Tomatoes are positive. Film critic James Berardinelli ranked it the second best film of the decade behind The Lord of the Rings. AFI named it one of its top 10 movies of the year 2000, and it was nominated for 5 Independent Spirit Awards, with Burstyn winning for Female Lead and Lee Batik taking home Best Cinematography, and it was nominated for 1 Oscar, Ellen Burstyn for Best Actress, which she lost to Julia Roberts in Erin Brockovich. Over the years, the movie has left a long legacy as a harrowing cautionary tale. In 2020, Film School Rejects wrote, "It's been 20 years since Requiem for a Dream scarred us all for life." The movie also further established Aronofsky as a powerful up-and-coming filmmaker, leading to movies like The Wrestler, Black Swan, and The Whale. As far as I know, there have never been talks of a sequel or TV spin-off. Thanks for watching this video. If you've made it to the end, drop a boost in the comments. For more movie history, check out the attached playlist and subscribe to my newsletter for the latest movie news.